Hey, mama. So I know that I talk a lot about marketing without social media on this podcast. I mean, the podcast is called Marketing Without Socials. But I also know that there are many who still want to incorporate social media marketing into their business. So I had to have my friend Katie Kastner on the podcast. Katie takes a low social media marketing approach in her business and helps her clients do the same thing. In this episode, Katie shares about how having a low social media marketing strategy supports her in running a business as a mom. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Hey, mama. Welcome to Marketing Without Socials for Moms, the go-to podcast for moms in business who want to stop relying on social media to build their business and build it in a way that fits their current season of life. I'm your host, Andrea Singletary, a wife, mama of two, and visibility strategist for moms. Each week, I'm giving you the inside scoop on how to increase your visibility, leads, and sales through podcasting, email marketing, and collaborations. Ready to truly make social media optional in your business? Grab your chai tea latte and let's dive into today's episode. All right, I'm sitting down to chat with Katie Kastner, and we are going to be talking about content marketing and Katie's journey as a mom and business owner. So Katie, welcome to the show. Please tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and all about your family.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I am Katie Kastner. I am, a freelance content writer, content marketing strategist, ex-theater kid, elder millennial mom. I have run my own business coming up on 5 years now, which is crazy. I just realized that I'm coming up on 5 years. I started as a freelance content writer that morphed into marketing strategy. And now it's sort of an interesting mix of both, which I really like. I don't like being put in boxes. And so when I realized I could do a couple of things at the same time, I really love that. And I am a mom. I'm a mom of a daughter and a son. My daughter is 11 and just started 6th grade, which is junior high here in the Midwest. And it's a lot. A lot. And then my son is about to be 9, which is crazy. My baby boy is about to be 9 and he's in 3rd grade. So I am a little bit further along, I know, than you are with little guys.
Yes.
But, as we've chatted about, it's a different sort of hard and chaotic, it's a different season, but a lot of similar themes in terms of what it is to raise kids and run a house and also run a business.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to chat with you. We just got done recording my interview for your podcast.
Yeah.
So we're keeping the momentum going.
We are.
Yeah. But tell us, how did you get started with your business? And did you start it before or after becoming a mom?
I started it well after becoming a mom. So my background is actually in marketing and advertising. That's my undergrad was in. And then I worked a couple of different careers that never quite fit. I always felt like the square peg in the round hole type of thing. Like I could never quite find my spot. And so I went back and got a master's in special education and I taught for a few years. And then got pregnant with my daughter. And that was a rough year. I was sort of promised a teaching position that didn't work out. And we were sort of faced with a big, okay, what are we going to do? My husband had just gotten a new job and we ultimately decided that what was going to work best for us was that I was going to stay at home for a few years, which was never our plan. That was never something I thought I would do, planning to do. But I think like a lot of families, it just sort of happened that way. And that ended up working out best for us. So I stayed home for a few years. My daughter was just over 2. I think our kids are probably very similar in distance and age. She was just over 2 when I had my son. And I really just leaned into the stay-at-home mom thing. I was part of play groups and we went to story times at the library. And looking back on it now, so many years out, I'm very, very nostalgic about it. I'm also realistic that there were hard times back then too. There's, hindsight being what it is, I think back on those years with like such warm, fuzzy memories. But I also remember that there were times that I was like, you know, but we really just did like the suburban stay-at-home mom thing for a couple of years. And I had never planned on being a stay-at-home mom or really doing that. And so I found myself like around the time that my son was maybe a year, kind of like being like, well, what's for me though? Like what can I do that's just for me? And I also was feeling a little bit of pressure, not at all from my husband, but just self-imposed pressure to contribute to the household, which again, being this far into my motherhood journey, I realized I was contributing so much to the household being a stay-at-home mom. But at the time, I thought I really want to financially contribute. And so I started to kind of look at ways that I could make a little bit of extra money. I fell into an MLM, which did not go well, ended really, really badly. And I personally, I don't, I personally have too much trauma around MLM that if it works for some people, that's great. It really was a hard hit for myself and my family at the time. And then left me sort of even deeper into this, well, what can I do? What is what's for me? And so around this time, I actually started training for a marathon. I ran the Chicago Marathon in 2017 as part of my like, what is for me thing. Marathon running is not for me. I did it once and I'll never do it again. Um, but I did it. So check it off my list. But I recognize now that it was all sort of in this like search for something that was mine. And I know a lot of moms feel that way. Like we do sort of give up so much of our identity and into being moms that I think it's very natural and very normal for women to then turn around and go, okay, but like, who am I though? Still, am I still in here? Who am I? And I very much did that. And so I actually ended up, it was like around 2019, got a part-time teaching position. That was fun. It was back in special ed. I really liked it. I was managing a few cases across 2 schools. And then the pandemic hit and I was like, oh, okay. And the schools wanted us to go virtual and then that didn't work and that sort of fell apart. But in the process of this, I had started blogging. And I had started blogging actually when I was training for the marathon as a way to sort of document my training journey. And I just fell in love with it. I'm like a writer from way back. I used to write a family newsletter and give it to my family members at Christmas, like so cringe. And then I wrote like for the school newspaper in high school and in college. And like, it's always just been an absolute love of mine is writing. And so when I got into blogging, I didn't do it for any other reason than I loved it. Like I wasn't looking to monetize. I wasn't looking to do anything. I just loved it. But in the process of blogging, I also learned a lot about writing long form content. And so shortly after I had gotten this part-time teaching position, I had started writing blog posts for some friends who had either their own blog or kind of had like businesses. And that was sort of my first foray into content writing, long form content writing. And so when the pandemic hit and the school shut down and the program I was working for shut down, I literally just on a scroll in the middle of the night came across a group that taught freelance writing. It was like, if you want to become a freelance writer here, I'll teach you how to do that. And the thing that was cool actually was it was for moms. It was like freelancing moms. So it was this amazing woman who was a mom of 6 herself, who was teaching other women how to start their freelance writing careers. And that's really where it began was, okay, I love doing it. I know I'm good at it. And this is something I can do in the margins of my life. This is something I can do during nap time, is something I can do when the kids are at school. Because at that point I had little guys, so they were only at school a couple hours a day. And it's something I could do at night. It's something I could do on my phone. So I really started, that's really how my business began, was freelance content writing. And I got, a couple clients, one of which I still write for today. Like they're like my OG. I can never let them go. And in the course of content writing, I was kind of just exposed to the world of online digital marketing. And now when I got my bachelor's degree in marketing and PR, it was the year 2000, and online digital marketing was not a thing that just did not exist. I didn't learn it that way. So I took a certification course in digital marketing and digital marketing strategy and just loved it. Like I remembered why I had majored in it all those years ago, and eventually launched a strategy piece of my business working with small business owners, women, to plan their content strategy. And we are today, still doing a little bit of everything.
That is amazing. I love how you were able to take something essentially which that was like a childhood passion, and now you're making money doing it.
Yeah, it is kind of, I think about that a lot. Like if like 12-year-old me on like our home PC, like printing out these family newsletters, which were just essentially like gossip magazines for all the family. Like it was just like telling on everybody.
Yeah.
But I just thought like I was doing something back then. So like I think about like if I could go back and tell her like you should see what we're doing now. Like it is, it's pretty cool.
That is. So, you know, you mentioned your kids are older. And I know for me, I always talk on this podcast from the perspective of running a business with little ones. But I would love to hear from you in this season of motherhood that you're in. You know, how does it impact you, like how you're running your business and everything?
Yeah, it's evolved. I find every year it has evolved a little bit more. And so, right, I have a 6th grader and a 3rd grader, meaning they are in school Monday through Friday, you know, for 7 hours or whatever it is. And so the last couple of years, as my business has grown and pivoted in a few different ways, I have recognized and realized that the summertime, I have to get real honest with myself and be very realistic about my capacity and my expectations over the summer, because, you know, my kids will do camps and things, but I call myself the cruise director. I am the cruise director in the summer, and I am planning, you know, activities, and I am running the house. And but during the school year, I have to be really disciplined with my working hours, because I only, you know, I get from when I get home from drop off to when I have to leave for pickup. And because after school, the thing that comes with older kids is activities.
Yep.
They are in stuff, they do stuff. And it's, you know, right now, 4 out of the 5 days of a weekday, we are running somewhere after 3:00. So, you know what, a few years ago, I could kind of grab maybe an hour or 2 after school. And I'm not a nighttime worker. I am an in bed by 8:30 girly. So I'm not like a working into the wee morning or wee hours of the morning. So I have to be very strategic with how I plan my weekdays. And then I usually will take some time on Sunday, like they can go hang out and do stuff with my husband, and the 3 of them go and do something, and I get some work done. But those Monday through Friday hours, I have to be very strategic with how I do it. What days I'm doing admin, what days I'm doing client work, what days I'm doing my own content creation, recording my own podcast, doing my own writing. It has taught me to be much more disciplined, because the second the second school is over, work is done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I have one of my kids, the oldest one, he's in school, and then I have my daughter home with me full time. So I'm a little different from you. I do the majority of my work in the evenings, but I am a night owl. So like that is when I'm the most focused, productive, and all of that. But it's hard, like even when your kids are older, trying to get work done with them home is not always feasible.
It's not. And I have, my daughter is, she's neurodivergent. She has ADHD and anxiety. And so there's a lot of extra things that we, you know, have to deal with. And she doesn't do downtime well. So I unfortunately don't have like here, take the iPad for an hour and let me get some work done. No, like we got to be doing stuff, and which is why she's in everything, because that's better for her. And this is just the balance that we figured out right now. I know that in a couple of years, like she's 2.5 years now from high school, I'm sure that will look very different. It will, but it is a constant sort of ever evolving thing. Like you find something that works and then something gets thrown in, or you find a flow and then something gets flexibility. That's the name of my game.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. So one thing I would love to hear from you is like, we wear these many hats as mom,
Mm.
business owner, all of the things. And so what have you learned about yourself as you're navigating, motherhood and entrepreneurship?
That if I put myself last, everything else falls apart.
Mhm.
I was actually diagnosed this year with lupus. It's not severe.
Wow.
It's actually very well controlled. It's a pretty mild case, so I'm grateful for that. But it's through just sort of another little extra layer of things that I need to manage. I also don't, it sounds terrible to say I don't have good genetic stock, but my dad died of cancer at 47. My mom passed away 2 years ago from complications from an autoimmune, which is what lupus is.
Mm.
And so the last few years for me, and I'm 42 this year, the last few years for me have been very eye-opening in that my physical and mental well-being has to be foundational. I always say like moms are the barometer of the house. And if mom's falling apart, everything else is following shortly behind. At least that is the way it is in my house. And I have an amazing partner and my husband. Truly, I truly am like still so obsessed with him. We're about to celebrate our 14-year wedding anniversary, and I'm still so
Oh,
obsessed with him.
congrats.
Thank you. But still, I know that for myself, if I'm not feeling physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally well,
Mhm.
I can't do all the things I want to do. And that leads for me to a lot of guilt around my kids. It leads guilt around my business. And so that has been the biggest non-negotiable for me is that my priority in my week is, okay, the first thing we figure out is like, when is my therapy appointment? When am I working out? Where is my downtime? And then everything else comes after that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I feel like we're like kindred spirits or something. So I was diagnosed with lupus when I was 12, so I've lived with
Really?
it like the majority of my life and everything. And similar to you, especially when I transitioned to motherhood and then threw in starting a business, like prioritizing my self-care, it's a
Yes.
non-negotiable. Especially I don't know like how your lupus impacts you, but for me, the joint pain, like
Mm-hmm.
essentially arthritis in my fingers, different things like that. And I have to really be mindful of my stress. And so that's like how we were talking about on your podcast, why I'm quick to like cut stuff off because I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
nope, I
No,
have to protect my peace. I have
you
to,
do.
yeah. So
No, and
I
that's,
definitely understand.
yeah. And it's interesting. Mine is more fatigue based.
Mhm.
I fatigue like much quicker than I used to.
Yeah.
I actually this past year though, started working with a functional medicine doctor and an acupuncturist and my regular doctor. So I feel like I have a really good handle on it, but it is interesting to your point. Like I can tell when something's about to kick off. Like I can tell if I need to pause, take a step back, rearrange some things,
Mm-hmm.
like either add something in or take something away or whatever, because my body is telling me, my body's being very clear that like
Yeah.
we're about to go into a flare and either you
Mm-hmm.
do this and we don't, or you continue and we do. So like make
Yeah.
your choice.
Yes. Yes, it definitely gives us those warning
Right?
signals. Yes, yes. So shifting gears a bit to your area of expertise, talk to us about content marketing. So what type of content do we need in our marketing strategy?
So the other reason that where we sort of align is taking like a little bit of a lower social media approach to the way we are marketing and promoting our business. Um, I my background again being in digital marketing, I can talk to you about every piece of an overall marketing plan. And the first thing I will tell my clients when we work together is, sure, you can be on social, but that's not all we're going to talk about. Because I can't tell you how many times somebody will come to me and be like, so what do I do with my Instagram? What do I do with my TikTok? And I was like, Okay, but so let's talk about your email list, and then maybe let's look at your website. And then how are you like networking, and how are you like collaborating? Like we talked about, like how are you looking at all the other ways that you can market and promote what you're doing? And so when you look at content marketing as a whole, it is not, and I feel like I say this so many times, like content is not just social. It is not just posts and video and reels and TikToks and YouTube. Yes, that is one type of content. But in the grand scheme and the big picture of content marketing, your content is anything that you are producing that is high value, that is a resource to the audience you're trying to reach, and that showcases your expertise, your authority, and how you serve the community you're trying to serve. I don't care if you record it. I don't care if you write it. I don't care if you stand up on a stage and talk about it. Anything you're producing to that end is content. And so the whole idea of content marketing is you are strategically creating the content that works best for your audience, for you and your capacity, and that you can be consistent with as part of an overall customer journey to get your audience from finding you, falling in love with you, and becoming a client, customer, paid person. And I think the other thing that I don't want to say I harp on it, but I focus on it is if you are putting all of your eggs into a social media basket, you are really shooting yourself in the foot. I kind of have my speech that I give all my clients, or anytime I talk about it, is that you don't own those socials. You have no say over those platforms. I think we saw it this past, was it the summer, the spring, when like TikTok might have been banned, like,
Yeah.
that all that's gone. That's gone. So my next question is, have you moved them onto an email list? Have you gotten them into a community? Are they on your website and getting your information there? How else are you nurturing that community? Because if you're relying only on an algorithm, you really are cutting yourself short. And the thing that I have seen so many times over is amazing content and amazing service providers and business owners get lost because they put themselves on a platform that they have no control over. And it doesn't matter how amazing that content is. You are at the mercy of an algorithm at the end of the day. So the way I look at things, and I myself have put myself into a low social marketing method this past year. I took myself off of socials for almost 3 months back in the spring, and really reworked how I did everything. My background being in long form content, blog writing, email writing, sales pages, sales copy, that kind of thing. That is a piece of a puzzle. And for me, that sort of long form content and that nurturing content is foundation building. Again, if they're on your email list, and you brought this up in your interview too, if somebody's on your email list and in your community, you're showing up directly to them. That message is going directly to their inbox. That is worth more. That is worth like so many TikTok followers to me. Like it doesn't even matter.
Yes.
So really my approach to content marketing is, first of all, what content is going to work best for your audience and for you. Because if you hate producing a certain type of content, if you're not comfortable with it, you will not be consistent. And so there is no point. And then also figuring out and really nailing down your message, what you're here to share, and what you're, and delivering that in a way that resonates and connects with the audience that you're trying to reach.
Yes. I love all of that. And it's something I talk about a lot too. It's like you're literally trying to do all of the things on a single platform and you're getting frustrated. You're trying to get visible. You're trying to nurture your current audience, and then you're trying to convert them into your offers. And then, like you said, you're at the mercy of the algorithm. So you don't know who is seeing what. Yeah. And even to kind of speak to the point about like why I love email so much, like, yeah, okay, you post that link in your stories and you see you got link clicks, but you don't know who clicked it. But with my email, I can see who clicked the link, and I can follow up and continue that conversation because Unfortunately, a lot of people, they may be interested, but they are not going to reach out to you initially.
Yeah,
They're not going to
absolutely.
start that conversation. But if you know who's actually clicking the links, who is showing interest in your offers, you can break the ice and reach out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like, I talk
And a
about
lot
this
of
all the
times,
time. Yeah.
and a lot of times that's all they need. They
Yes.
need just
Yes.
that extra little like, oh, actually, okay, yes.
Mhm.
You know, like that it is, you know, it's like I talk a lot too about like the different type of the buyer types, the different.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I love marketing so much is that it's so much about human behavior, and I find humans absolutely fascinating. And so I have learned a lot of marketing from the human behavior standpoint. And you know, you're always going to have people who are like go-getters. They want to be like the first in line to get something. They want to be the
Mhm.
leaders. You have people that need that nurture. You know, you have people that are going to need more data than you ever thought somebody was going to need. And then you're going to have somebody who is strictly buying because they connected with you on an emotional level, and that's all they needed.
That's me.
And
I'm
yeah,
an
me too. Yeah.
emotional buyer.
So am I. I'm just like, I'm also an efficiency buyer. So like,
Yes.
if that's going to get me from point A to point B,
Mhm.
done. Here's my credit card. But it's so really like, I think a lot of times people are like, well, content marketing, like how is that different from digital marketing? And it's not. It's just digital marketing is content marketing, just doing it on the internet,
Mhm.
quite literally. You know, like back in the day, content marketing was newspaper ads, magazine ads. It was postcards in the mail. It was magazine articles. It was TV commercials. And with the last 30 years of the internet, all of that just moved into the digital space.
Mhm.
So there's no difference. You're just doing all of the content marketing online.
Yes. So talk to us about, how we can really create content that connects us with our dream clients.
Yeah. So this is actually like I'm on this year has become the year of connection strategy for me, and human to human marketing is what I've been calling it, because we are seeing a shift. And actually I just finished a 2-day like future of marketing summit. And so much of, and there was a lot of great like tactical, here's how to do this. But the thing that it kept coming back to is that audiences, first of all, are much savvier than they used to be.
Mhm.
And they're seeing through a lot of like the traditional sort of bro marketing tactics. And they are done being talked at, and they really want to be spoken to. And so connection marketing and creating that connection is about showing up as you, however you are, messy, a little unkempt, a little all over the place, like however it is, but focusing more on what you want to provide, the value and the resources and the transformation, whatever that is, whether it's a product or a service. The whole point of marketing is showing your audience how you can take them from point A to point B. And so when you look at content marketing from a connection standpoint, it's speaking to them very honestly about where they are right now. And a lot of times, and most of the clients I've worked with, they were that person at one point. They were at the beginning of that journey. So tell them about that. Talk about that. Tell that story. How did that feel? Remember how that felt? Journal on a little bit. What were your worries back then? What were your fears back then? What was holding you back? What was, moving you forward? Share that. Because when an audience or, a potential customer can see that you get it, like that you've been there, you've done that, you can help them get to the other side and do it not in a, oh, I'm going to take your money and we're going to get this done, but more in a, no, I got you. We can do this. Let's go. This is where the human to human piece comes in for me. Because if you were to walk up to somebody, let's say at a bar or a restaurant, and start to pitch yourself to them, like, what's the first thing like, that person's gonna be like, okay, take 3 giant steps back.
Yes.
Please stop. That is so uncomfortable.
Mm.
We've gotten to the point now where our audiences are they can clock that. They can clock that at 100 paces. So instead of showing up with the, let me tell you about myself, we're going to go with, hey, I want to connect with you because I feel like you and I share something. We share a similar story. We share a similar struggle. I can guide you through a process. Most of the business owners I work with are service providers. So it is very much a case of point A to point B. And there's a lot of emotion in that. There's a lot of emotion at point A through the entire process. And once you get to that end goal. So really connection starts with being real honest with yourself about, am I ready to show up as myself? Am I ready to show up and like talk very openly and candidly? I'm not talking about bearing your soul. You don't have to be telling secrets. You don't have to be like open in the closet and like kicking all the skeletons out. You don't have to do that. But it's okay to show that like, yeah, there's vulnerability in this and I've been there and this is what it was like for me. Here's how I sort of figured it out. Here's how I can guide you. And showing like the messy middle, showing, like we talked about, I don't know if we were actually recording it out, but we were chatting before, like normalizing the hard stuff. Again, I think people are to the other side of these like perfectly aesthetic, beautifully presented influencers, business owners. That's kind of because we know that's not real life and we're tired now. And we're tired now. And we're tired of like pretending. So show me the messy middle. I mean, so one of the platforms actually that I am very consistent on because it's easy for me to be consistent. It comes easy to me and it's easy for me to work into my day is TikTok. Like I've told you, I'm a former theater kid. So like throwing my phone up and pressing record and talking at it, no problem whatsoever. And 9 times out of 10 on my TikTok, I am barefaced. Sometimes I put makeup on if I'm having a good day, but I am barefaced. I'm standing in my messy kitchen or I'm sitting at my messy desk. But it doesn't change the fact that what I'm sharing, the message I'm sharing and the content that I'm sharing is valuable, is going to help somebody achieve a goal, is going to help somebody see themselves in a process. And that's really all connection marketing is allowing your audience to see themselves in the process and start to realize that, I can get to the other side. Here are my steps forward.
I love that. Like you're speaking my language. That's one of the things I'm really big on is just being your authentic self in your content. Cause you're right. Like we're so tired of you're painting this picture of something I don't even want,
right?
But it's like, it's not realistic for me in my situation. Like, I want to know, like, how are you navigating the hard times? Like, how are you navigating those challenging seasons of life, especially as a mom and a business owner?
Yeah.
I feel like far too often, like, people will say, oh, yeah, I'm a mom too, but they don't really show it. And it's like, well, I can't really connect with you because my kids, they're here. Like, they're with me. Yep. My 2-year-old, she is constantly climbing all over. Like 9 times out of 10, if I'm hopping on a Zoom call with a client, you're going to see my daughter. And she's going to be like, hello, how are you? And so that's what I want to see because that is my reality. So I'm so glad that you brought that up because it's true. Like, there's such a shift in the online space. Like we're tired. We're tired.
We're so tired.
Like I want to know that if I'm investing in you, you're someone who truly gets it and isn't going to just throw out these things that don't realistically work for me, don't make sense for me, don't really take into consideration like who I am and what my reality is. So
yeah,
that was so good.
Thanks. And that actually goes back. And I say this to people too, like if you are going to work with somebody, if you're going to hire a service provider, if you're going to hire, like one of my first questions has been, do you have kids? Because I've worked with amazing coaches in the past that really they were phenomenal. They were wonderful. But there was always points where I was like, so that's not realistic for me for like a lot of reasons. And like, I love the idea. I love the approach. I love the method. So what else you got? And unfortunately, and I have one of my best friends, her and I talk about all the time, like you have to have there's a lot of things about life that you just have to have kids to understand, to fully understand and appreciate. You just have to be a parent. And one of the things that kind of to your point, I've worked with clients where I'm like, if you need to get up and throw like nuggets in the air fryer, please do. If you need to like stop really quick and break up a fight, go ahead. Cause I probably will too. Like
yes.
that's, because that is the truest, most authentic version of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot show up for my clients if in a way that doesn't feel authentic, because then I'm like, for lack of a better term, I'm sort of lying to them.
Yeah.
Like I want them to know that I get it. I want them to know I'm never going to give you a marketing plan. I'm never going to come up with an idea for you that isn't going to work for your life right now, because that's doing you a great disservice. Because if you can't implement it, like I say, when I talk about like low social media method, it doesn't mean no social. It doesn't mean getting off social completely, but it's understanding your bandwidth, your capacity, your current capabilities. Again, TikTok's super duper easy for me. I can bust out like 5 TikToks in about a half hour and I'm done. But if you can't, then don't. And I'm not going to give you a plan to help you get there unless you truly know that you're capable of it, that you have the capacity, the time, and the bandwidth.
Yes.
I think, unfortunately, it's missing a little bit in the online community.
Yes. So speaking of like coaches, because you said, one of the questions you asked before you, decide on investing with someone if they have kids or not, I would love to know who is one coach or mentor who's had a major impact on your journey as an entrepreneur.
Oh, that's a really good question. It would honestly, it would probably be, her name's Abby. She actually, I don't think she runs the group anymore. She was the woman who ran the freelance mama group, the course and membership that I joined way back in the day. She was the first example to me of an entrepreneur mom. I don't come from an entrepreneurial family, so I'd never seen it before. I'm like the first in my family to like try this. And she was like the first example of running a amazing business, a very successful business, while also being a very full-time mom. And to this day, she still is like I still love her emails. I mean, I've not been in her membership for, oh my gosh, 3 years now, I think. But like, she's still just like, she was, I think, the one that showed me that it's possible. And I think at the time I really needed that. Like, I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I had this idea of doing it. I knew, because it just like stay-at-home momhood had never been on my plan. Entrepreneurship had never been on my plan.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really like she ended up, because I don't believe in coincidence. Everything happens exactly the way it should. She ended up on my path exactly when I needed it, because I needed that little extra push, that little extra like, yep, you can do this. Go ahead. See? So yeah.
I love that. So you have a community that you're launching for entrepreneurial moms called The Haven. So tell us all about it and why we should join.
Oh, The Haven it's funny. It's been like very much, it feels like, I just recorded an episode the other day about it. It feels very much like a pregnancy and about to deliver. Like, this is very much where I'm at. But The Haven is a community for entrepreneur moms. And it really came from a place of me having been in other communities where I learned really amazing things. I made amazing connections. But again, there was this piece that was missing, where there were things being taught to us or things being given to us. And I, again, like going, well, okay, that's great. And I love that. That's a great idea. But like, how for me? So there is that part of building a business. And for me, The Haven is very small business marketing focused, because that is what I do. But like, so how do we learn what we need to learn, the pieces that are most applicable to our businesses, and how do we implement them in a way that works for our life? So the low social media marketing method is going to be kind of the cornerstone of The Haven. There's also going to be guest experts. I actually just had a call with somebody earlier today that I'm so excited about. The zones of genius that are not mine, I'm going to bring somebody else in so they can teach you all about it. The other part of it that I'm the most excited about is one of the best things that's ever happened to me came out of a networking group is my accountability buddy. She is somebody that I met, and we started off just as accountability pals. We are both small business owners. We're both women. She was a couple steps ahead of me in her business, but we just started off as like, we would talk every 2 weeks and I would talk about what I was working on and she would talk about what she was working on, and we would collaborate on ideas, or we would give feedback, or we would brainstorm with each other. And it was a part of entrepreneurship that I did not realize would be so valuable. And her and I have gone from just being accountability pals to being dear, dear, dear friends. She's one of my closest friends now. And the thing that I've recognized, and we talked about this a little bit in our interview, is the loneliness that entrepreneurship comes with sometimes. And it happens in motherhood and it happens in entrepreneurship. And so as part of the Haven, I'm setting up an accountability buddy program, more or less. Like, come in and I want you to find your person. I want you to find somebody that you connect with, that you vibe with. Maybe your businesses are similar, maybe they're not, but I don't really care about that. What I care about is that you connect with somebody that you can shoot a text to on a Monday being like, I'm so overwhelmed by this. What do you think? Or if you're launching a new product or working through a new service, hey, can I get your feedback? Somebody that you can say, I need help. And that also you can say to them, how can I help you? Because the community part of entrepreneurship is, first of all, just obviously you're an entrepreneur, you're solo, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
And so the community part, as humans, we need that. We need that. And so the Haven for me was the answer to what I was looking for. It was one of those like, well, I couldn't quite find it, so I'll just build it myself. So we do business education, general business education. I have guest experts on sales and marketing automation, ads. We have a whole thing on ads coming up. All of the different, the financial piece, the financial planning piece of small business. So there's a big, marketing component. There's also a small business support component. I also am focusing a lot on self-care and mental health. I have an amazing licensed therapist who's going to be one of our guest experts coming in, because again, going back to that, if mom is not at her best, most everything isn't at its best. And just that business networking piece, I'm really excited for it. I'm really excited to launch it. I feel like we're all a bunch of like little pioneers, like conquering a new frontier. And so I'm really excited about it.
Wow, it sounds so, so good. I'm going to make sure I link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, please share with the listeners where they can connect with you and learn more about working with you.
Sure. So like I mentioned, TikTok is where you can see and hear me the most. It makes it really easy. So my TikTok, if you want to jump into my head, head over to Threads, which is my new, that is like a text-based girlie's dream over there. So I'm really active on Threads. You can get me on Instagram in my DMs. It's really only the reason I still have my Instagram account is for the DMs. And then you can also check me out on my website and shoot me a message through there.
All right. I will make sure to link all of that in the show notes. Well, thank you again, Katie, so, so much. I've just loved chatting with you here on my podcast and then even on your podcast too.
Same.
Like I said, I feel like we're kindred spirits.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, see, and this is the beauty of collaboration.
Yes, you find your people. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Mama. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to hang with me. I would love to keep the conversation going. So head to mamaturnmompreneur.com/marketing without socials to join my email community. I share even more tips and strategies for building a business that doesn't rely on social media and one that fits your current season of life, as well as more behind the scenes of mom and business life. All right, Mama, that's it for today, but I'll catch up with you again next week.